I want to speak about recruitment in the PSL. I want to speak about recruitment. I'm going to start off by saying what scared me in a press conference that was said by Kevin Johnson was Gonzalez, he still doesn't know how to use him. And there's people that have been there, Dylan Shepherd, Boatazwana, still within the framework, and all those guys who were around when certain decisions were taken. It shouldn't be very hard, especially for somebody, for example, with Gonzalez, who's on loan. We've only got a year with him, so you can't necessarily waste time. But then you ask the question, have you gone back and have you scouted him properly when you're doing your recruitment? But I want to start off with a video where Rulani breaks down the process that Sundowns follows when they're doing something as a precursor to the conversation that we're going to have now. So let me just get that right. Then we can just hear this.
A lot of credit needs to be given to the club, and in particular the sporting director, the assistant sporting director in their office, because they use the data, the scouting networks that they had to be able to find and shortlist a couple of players. What then happens is once we shortlisted a couple of players, and Lucas was on a short list with about 4 or 5 other players, This only takes place after the report. So of course the season ends, and then we've got to provide a report. The basic thing about the report, it could be 100 whatever pages. The basic thing is, how do we improve this team? And there's a lot of ways to improve the team. There's training, of course, and many other things around the team in terms of the performance. But of course, there are certain positions that we want to improve. And Lucas, when I looked and I watched the games of the players that were on the short list, Lucas had a lot of qualities that I thought would help the team to get to a different level. And Lucas will tell you that there were some exceptional things. Already when I watched Lucas, he was not even playing in the center of the pitch. He was playing as a winger on the right with the left foot to dribble and to cut inside and to create goals. But there were certain qualities that I liked and I saw in him. And when he arrived, I had already prepared a presentation with videos about certain strengths and individual strengths that he already possessed, and that I thought could help the team in a specific position, which was up front as a 9. Even though he wasn't playing as a 9, I think I had to do a lot of work, Beggy knows and Lucas knows, where I had to do a lot of work to try to convince him that not only was this the best position for him, but the best position for the club. It helps when you are speaking to someone with a good heart and who is coachable and also wants to improve, because even in the video clips, there was also some things that I highlighted and I said, must improve, because in this team it becomes very difficult for you to survive if we don't work on some of these things. And I don't want to get into those things because that's a conversation that is between me and Lucas. And I must tell you honestly that he has worked extremely hard to work on some of those things, and it's so evident to see on the pitch. He's a very gifted footballer. I still don't think Lucas is even at 70% of his full potential. I think there's so much more for Lucas to improve and to develop.
Okay, that of course was from goal.com. Wait. That of course was from goal.com. Rulani analyzing some of what they do. And I like it because it gave us a bit of a window into how they scout, how they get the players, how to do the stuff. But I want to have a general conversation about PSL teams in general. Are we scouting good enough? Or are we had a conversation on our WhatsApp group just before the show. Is it just up to agent relationships and people knowing each other, and then I put you in a certain team, regardless of whether you're good or not, regardless of whether you fit that team? Are we, in terms of recruitment, are the PSL teams awake to that? You see a lot of former players, not former players, you see a lot of legends, quote unquote legends, who haven't contributed much at the big teams that they were at, go onto the market and then they immediately snapped up, and you watch them play and they don't fit the style of what is happening at that club. You know, you have people like Abu Gonzalez who are brought in on loan, but then 13 games in, you're still asking the question, and the coach comes out and he says, I still don't know, to be honest with you, how to deal with this player, right? So what level of recruitment came in that there's not resources within the club where somebody says to coach, this is why we bought him, these are the videos, this is the report, therefore when you use him like this because we've chosen him like that. There shouldn't be a situation where the coach is still trying to figure out how to use him. But I don't want to be too long in what I'm saying. I want to ask the gents, Kumo, what do you think about recruitment in SA in terms of when we sign players and when we say that I'm bringing in players? Are these players being signed for specific roles, or is it names, or is it agents? Do the teams, for lack of a better term, know what they're doing when they're signing?
You know what, judging by how the teams perform, I don't think they know what they're doing. I think there's a lot of back-end deals, there's a lot of manipulation. Okay, obviously, with the exception of Sundowns, Rolani did say on how they recruit, and most of the people that Sundowns brought, you can see they actually fit the system, and you can see why they were brought on to play for Sundowns. So we're gonna give Sundowns a pass on this one tonight. One thing that I've always been for to believe, is that coaches do not have any do not have any what is this word? Any
Like
choice on
say,
who
like, okay.
yeah, on who they can bring, and maybe like people like your boy Mutauni, your Evan Causers buy players for them, and the coach has to make do. Not only today, I also learned that some agents also have a role in recruiting these people to certain teams. For instance, like let's say a person is going to play for Royal AM. I don't want to speak badly about Mom Kaizer, but she's not a soccer person. She's just a person who has money. So as a coach, I'm gonna bring someone like Tembazwane, for instance. I'm gonna take him from Sundowns and say, if you go to Royal AM, you're gonna earn 30 million, right? And the coach is definitely gonna accept you, because as the agent, I'm gonna give that coach 5 million and I'm gonna get 10 million and also get some money there, every season while you are there. So Mam Kaizer is trying to actually build, because he's trusting the coach, he's trusting the agent, by getting them proper players. Mara, there's an agenda to actually milk the club. So you ask yourself, what is this player doing there? But the coaches are in it, but the owners are trying to actually grow and actually win some silverware. So corruption here we see in South African football is unmatched, bruh. The things we learn every day of. Now I'm not just gonna blame the coaches only. I'm not just gonna blame the owners. I have to think and say, who are these people that are actually bringing these players, and what for reason, and who approved? You know what I mean? Because that's my team. We seem to be getting it right, but now I've been opened up to a new whole other level that I didn't know took place behind the scenes.
Okay. Velile, now about coach wethu, we say this every time, Guti, bane plan A, but it seems as though makumele bachinche baletha amanye ama-player. It's almost as if they don't even know them. Guti hayi man, yazi lo muntu angimazi why bamsayinile, angazi ukuthi ngimenzeni mangimfaka. Here's Kevin Johnson saying that he doesn't know uGonzalez, ukuthi uGonzalez uyenzani, even though it's a 1-year loan for 4 million. We've spent 4 million, for example. What do you think about recruitment, Limezans?
Yeah, no, it's challenging. Into frustrated on the previous topic. I know ukuthi yini kakhulu. Because you know Sadio Mane, you know Joshua, you know what they did before even they could become whatever that they've been emazweni wabo. You know. So and on their personal capacity. So that's what frustrates us. But let's go to this topic. Hey, yabona uBrakhuma ungithathela amagama la. Because this thing mangathi ayibheka iqale kakhulu with the introductions of the agents in South Africa, with the mushrooming of agents. Some of them, they were even explaining on other shows yabanye abantu esingesiwabize nawo la, on how and how it easy to get those licenses. Some of them, they even operated before even they could even acquire those licenses. Secondly, you've got an agent who's representing a coach and the players. Ungawayizwa le nto le. Like I've got a coach, I'm an agent. I'm representing Kevin Hunt. But under my stable days, Kevin Hunt, kuno Themba Zwane, kuno Gonzalez, kuno ban under my stable, and those players sometimes they are free agent. So don't you think sometimes that thing's gonna play a role if I'm going to take that player to the coach or under my stable? Surely there is some sense of influence there. Nothing is like good day. There's no way. There's no way. That's why you get it sometimes. Even though we know it doesn't work, they'll always say if there's a conflict of interest, you have to excuse yourself. But then the coach won't excuse himself when you bring that player for trial. He's conflicted already because you are being represented by the same person. So when our phone looks at Jardine, and also you look with that the artificial economy that was created in terms of the price that they put on the player's head. Most of the players, the price that they put on top of their head, they're not even worth that price. That's what also led to like South Africa, especially when it comes to scouting, and especially even when it comes to foreign recruitment. It happened. And Upito, he's the one who stopped it. That's why some of them, they even fought against him there. They are still there. They don't only hate him, he stopped it. That's when Sundowns stopped buying lots of players' spaces and none. Pito now was in charge of buying his players and recommending which player does he want and which player does not. Because there were people there who were just buying players for no reason. Umtsimbe is not there. And it also happened if people can just go back, Gangan. There's a certain player who came to Pirate as a free agent. And at that time, Pirate was not even solid at the back. He trialed there for 2 weeks. Rolando was the coach. He didn't sign him there. We might never know whether like it was a money wise or what, but I don't think it was mine because that player was a free agent. There was no transfer fee there. If Zoklona is free agent, then he must just leave the business. Now, you see? But Urulani signed that player for Sundowns. And that player only plays the most kuma game, not with most kuma game Kev. Come in substitute now and then we just Yamaz Musangit.
But it's
But
fine.
Yamaz.
Yamaz.
But you know that play. Yamaz. The defense, central defense. Ushange Kamala middle name yake Kamala Icon. Yes, that was Settlement Island. Kama middle name yake Kamala.
Awona manje sasoma isakhona hayi man.
So those things we need to look at them of it was they are really killing our soccer. The agents, the prices that they put on top of those players, and now I'm a team now by not appointing people who will do that's why I'm a team now they're no longer spending money on employing proper scout. Surely, if you're a proper scout, then you can scout for a team. You know your team. You know the type of players that the team will need, and then pay those guys to do that job for you. So that if also Nakora will spend some much money, but with I think as I've said, the introduction
Okay.
of agents just messed it up kakhulu, because nalo mfakela esithombeni lo uphe i-record like angazi namalona engakhi lo la phezulu uthi ufike kanjani.
Yes, because there's a question I like. There's a point you
Okay.
made there. Ngifuna
Yeah.
ukuyibamba kahle mara ngizoyibamba mangibuya.
Okay.
Let me bring in Theo. Theo, what do you think about the recruitment in the country? Welcome to the show.
Let me greet you, Mr. Agent. Nabo Kumo, bo Velile, bo Super Weeks, ban Super was full, abo the previous panel, abo agent. Not just the agent. I told you in the group, which agent are you talking about? I asked you, are you talking about the agent or the double agent? So, over clear, please. Let me greet everyone. And Mr. OT, that's a very interesting topic. But guys, as I said before, it's a topic that we can talk about it, but unless the people who are relevant to this situation can listen to us, it won't change, but at least we'll give the fellow fans or football lovers of what we're talking about and the mindset that they need to have when it comes to players. You listen to Rulani, and I said this, man, and I'm a supporter of Sundowns. I know they don't like it, but I will say it again. I don't like Rulani, man, because he is making the job easier for these people, but they are failing to understand the memo and going home and do what they need to do. And he's just telling them, guys, do 1, 2, 3, 4. You will get 1, 2, 3, 4 results. But it's very sad, Mr. Uti, on a serious note, Uti, you have a coach like Watazwane. He comes into a team, he says we are rebuilding. And then he says we are now profiling players based on how we want to play, based on the style of play that we want to have. We are not just going to... He makes it so clear. The way you said it, I was like, okay, now this guy he has a focus on what his mandate is, and like he has I would say a foundation, I understand. And then 6 months down the line, all of a sudden now, you can see now, patience from us as fans starts running out because it's funny trophy, and then boom, the next season, we fire him, we bring in Unseki, we buy 9 players or 11 players. Out of those 11 players, only few are starting and only few are proper quality achieves, I understand. And only few you can see, Gucci, these guys can last 3 or 2 seasons from Chiefs and they can still give you something, a stability. You go to our arch rivals, Pirates. Pirates is busy buying players from midfield. They are busy buying strikers. The question is, are you buying because you want a player or are you buying because you need a player? Urulani said something, low Costa. He said, I looked at him while he was playing abroad. The minute we got him, I already had prepared what I want him to do to the team. Not to go to Begenzanlap. I don't care what he was doing there. I prepared what I want him to do here. I had a homework that I need him to go home and check, what can I do, 1, 2, 3, 4. I love what he said. He was a winger. He said, he said that he was a winger. And I told him, I don't want you to be a winger. I want to make you a false 9. I want to make you to score goals. I want you to create. But the question is, when we bring in players, as Chiefs, Pirates, Footy Super Sport, we know it development. And then to Super Sport development is Sundowns, but we don't want to argue that. We know it's Chiefs and the Pirates when we bring in players. We bring in players simply because they are hot at the moment. Billiard. Why did Chiefs buy Billiard? I would tell you, because at that time, Billiard was at his prime. Billiard was whatever. He came at Chiefs, never showed up. People will come and say he didn't get the certain personnel that he wanted. But if he was a star at Sundowns, he was supposed to be a star at Chiefs. But because we are buying players, because Lente Show Kumo, agents, they come, they present something to you. When it's up to you to sit down and say, do I need this player or do I want this player? If you need him, you need to know how you're going to use him. But if you want him, and then and say, hey, we have a player that is getting paid 1,800,000. I can ask you right now, I'm a player Sundowns, how much are they getting paid? We don't know some of them. Why? Because they never came for money. They came knowing, Gucci, I have to prove a point when I get here. But because in a player age, they are motivated by money, they are motivated by this status, so they are coming to a big team. That's why they are failing. Yeah, but Mr. Oti.
Okay, I'm gonna come back. Super Sfuba, how are you?
I'm done.
I'm good, Mr. OT. How are you?
I'm okay, my brother. I'm okay. Tell me, what are your general thoughts about the recruitment in the country when it comes to players at teams? Not just Chiefs and Pirates, but in general in the league.
I think when you look at the different regions we have in the country, you find different patterns. I have found that the teams in the Western Cape are very good at bringing through youngsters. Any team from Cape Town, once they break into the PSL, you will find 16, 17-year-olds playing in a structured system, adopting very well, and usually experience is what fails them, not talent. So the guys in Cape Town are getting it right, and they got it right. IX produced a lot of youngsters in the country, and generally the Western Cape, even outside of IX coming in, the Western Cape has consistently produced especially strikers. And then when you look at the KZN region, where we get players getting recruited via trials because there's not really a lot of structures. You get players coming to trials, players like Tapelo Koki. You get lucky, you get into the PSL, you escalate all the way to a Pirates. But then when you get to a professional level, you see that here and there the foundation wasn't there. Yeah, basically that's what you get. So when it comes to the bigger teams, I would say that Chiefs has not had an ethos, they had a slogan. Initially, all the best players wanted to go to Chiefs because no team could compete financially, and Chiefs was winning everything. So they didn't have to worry about structure because all the best players went there anyway. They didn't really need to be coached. They just need to like each other and develop that relationship. Sundowns, the shoeshine and piano, I think we all know the story. Now my memory is failing me.
Yeah. Let's go AJ. Let's get today, guys.
Mara, shoeshine and piano is something that has been there Sundown since the late 80s, the concept of it. And it's now in the last decade or so which it has been realized, and it's something that is a brand that you can show out to the world to say this is what you talk about when you say shushan and piano, and then you can compare it to your tiki takas and your total football and your whatever. When it comes to Pirates, I believe Evan Khoza has been a man who has always been obsessed about bringing through South African talent. He got an Augusto Palacios, who has been there nurturing South African talent for decades and brought through your Leremis, your Villagazis, and so many great talents, your Manyatelas, so many players that went through the hands of, and you even had an Orlando Pirates 11, which was 100% local. The starting 11 was made up of boys. So I don't think the problem is recruitment. I think the problem is most teams don't actually have a philosophy that they play to. And now money and agents as well, it has been well spoken about here. That now money and agents are the driving factor. And actually teams don't know how they want to play. All they know is that they want to win. And another thing, the chopping of changing of coaches is a factor. That's why I respect a coach that comes in and doesn't buy any players and doesn't sell many players. A coach like Ruth Kroll came to Pirates, found what he found and made it work. No excuses. He didn't say, I need a player who can do this. Within that bunch of players, he found a player who could do that, and then he fine-tuned him for the exact role they needed. I see that Ribeiro is doing the same thing. He's not really buying players. So who is buying the players? It's the technical directors who are not really
technical directors. They are agents who
I
occupy.
wanna get into that. I'm gonna come back because I wanna ask you that exact same question. I think for me the recruitment issue is deeper than coaches, and I think as South Africans, man, as a South African football watching public, we need to teach ourselves not to just look at coaches. Kumo, what I loved about what Urlani said. Rulani said, there's an office there, there's people who work in that office who create a report about how to make the team better. They come to me with a short list of players. I look at the short list of players, I look at their stuff, I check their play, I do all of that stuff, and then I take that and I make my choice, I present my choice, we sign the player, I work with the player. Meaning that even if the player moves, even if as a coach I move on, I did not decide on this player, or I did not decide on the shortlist, I did not decide on this report. I may have had a hand in it, but it didn't come from me. Therefore, it's the club saying that we have a vision, we have a style of play, and we will tell the coach, because we know the coach plays towards what we want, so that when he leaves, we're not starting over. Is this an issue that our technical director, the people who are meant to be the people that hold what the club does here, isn't the problem that these clubs don't have? These clubs maybe they're poor. That we look at the coach and we say the coach must be the one. Should it be outside of the coach, this thing?
Unfortunately, bro, most of our PSL teams have to be everything. They have to be bus drivers, technical directors, coaches, analysts. So I want Rolani himself, like he said that he's probably the least important person at Sundowns, but he's the face. So now he's allowed to copy what Pep does. He's allowed to do whatever he wants, but because of the type of strong leaders, partners, and directors that he has behind him, he can do and thrive. So if you go to a certain club, you go to a certain club that is fighting relegation, that's fighting man management because of some players were not paid on time, and because of he's a coach, he has to manage a situation. Or also the owners are owning the club for vibes. He has to also manage them. It's a lot for someone to bear. So blaming the coach, if only most of these players, teams, can get the same structure at Sundowns. I'm not saying they're gonna get the experienced one, but also this can also be a learning curve for them by getting you, for instance, or us on this panel to come and maybe be the sports directors. I get it's also a way of actually helping us learn, and for tomorrow we can be experienced as the one at Sundowns. So having that structure might improve the recruitment process and their gameplay overall, and also having their philosophy and a form of identifiable play on the football. Yeah.
Does this also safeguard? Maybe you could make a comment on that, because if the agent is the agent of the coach and the player, but the technical director, I've got nothing to do with you guys. You guys are coming and presenting players here. I don't want to sign them. They're not in line with doesn't that also help in the corruption?
It might help because of now if we're a team of coaches, technical directors, scouts, and whatever we might have positioning in the team. Now as an agent, we told you that we're looking for a right back. So you have to tell us, why is Modao the best right back currently? So you're going to have to do a presentation, you're going to have to do a SWOT analysis, and you have to motivate for that team on why we should take him over Kulu, So now, having that, now everyone, you can bribe 1 or 2 people, but now you can bribe 10. Even if you have so much money, one is also gonna fall. So it also is gonna make the agent's job thrive like the way it's supposed to be, and stop relying on influence and celebrity and money to just be an agent. Now you're gonna have to actually work hard and work hard to improve the players and for the team that you are representing as well.
Let me go to Velile. Just recently, Coach Musmuzu, Coach Kanu, Coach Musmuzi Vilagazi, they asked him why he left Ichipa. And he said that, you know what, I was in a role that didn't match what I knew. So they wanted me to be a technical director. I was a technical director. I took the job. But then I could see, man, just in a couple of weeks in that Lento, it doesn't jibe with me because I don't have those skills. Are we lacking our technical director where they can say, no, guys, I am the one opeti culture club. And then coach, yes, we bring in a coach to make decisions, some decisions, but as a club, we are going to tell you some things. As Urulani says, I don't compile it. They tell me what to do better. They give me a short list. They maybe ask me in terms of personnel. They go and compile a list. It's outside of the coach. Is it a thing, man? Should it be a thing at all clubs?
Yeah.
He hasn't said.
Oh, should tell Luchipa. Okay. Long.
Friend of the show, man.
Yeah, nah, we joke up. That's better you must play. How?
Look spray, Mara, Velile.
Yeah, when I was playing, I wanted you. When I was away, I'm getting my day. Go to first daily, I just can't see the Boyani in Malagalane. No, man. The thing, but see, when it comes to South Africa, and the term here, technical director, is not technical director, man. Because if you look at the meaning of technical director, and you look at all the PSL clubs, Lawasage, Akasha, about technical director, Azambisana, Amaz the petrol, from Butombo, Nabu Vilagazi. No, my technical director, let's get our bona, man. No, my technical director before. So it doesn't work like South Africa, that thing is technical director, because clubs here, they're different. Most of the teams here in South Africa, they are just run by people who are running their team like as a business, as a source of making profit, as their business. And they don't even have enough funds, but they mostly rely on it to set up as a form of a business. That's why you'll find out they're not even paying players that much. It's only few clubs that have got money and they've also got owners who are running it as a business, but also respecting the different roles that each and every individual bring good team. You look out for the teams that I can say they don't interfere too much or giving people their role, especially the coaches. Singasho Sundowns is the least important person, but you can see his influence when it comes, because when he articulates about different players that are brought on the system, yes, Sundowns. And also you go to a team like Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch, I can also say Nakorudu, Steve Barker, I can say if it is the only person who is in charge of his team, that one we can even call him a manager, because he runs the shows there on what's happening. You know, when they sign the player, he's the one who's speaking. You don't even know who's the CEO there. As much as we know the owner in terms of like the share scheme, but Steve Barker runs the show. Another one, Gavin Hunt, Super Sport. No, now he's in charge in terms of like wanting his own players and also according to his system. Because when he said it goes according to his scouting and the province and in the of which he also mentioned with Cape Town or Western Cape used to come in correctly. How they find it right? Because it was implemented initially. It was implemented by EHX Amsterdam's with the stream say Cape Town. of which you could see as sometimes the recruitment policy abo, most of their players, as much as abanye bavela from their development, but others, most of them, they were pulled from School of Excellence to Ajax Cape Town, and also from the Ajax to Ajax Amsterdam. That's why you see about Pinari, Bahamba Bayalena, and about Ninja Mufukeng from the School of Excellence, who were used like sort of that conveyor belt from the Ajax Amsterdam. But recruitment, that's why we pinpoint that directly. Ukuthi is an issue in South Africa general, right? No, in a breakdowns, because you've got different type of owners who are operating their team ngendlela zabo. You look at the team njenge Polokwane City. You never know nje kahle kahle lapho ukuthi kwenzakalani. And you might never even know their recruitment policy or kwenzakalani. So, but we know there's a team called Polokwane City, and also now there's Sekhukhune now. There's, you see the difference. That's why if you look at how the Eastern Bushes run, how Polokwane City is run, how Golden Arrows it's run on the other side, and now Richards Bay. AmaZulu now azenzela ngeyawo indlela, you'll find the president buying 11 players announce them at the same time without even knowing what will be the system and what was the recruitment criteria there that happened before, or just the players were just out of contract, they buy them. There are some other teams that they only go out for players that are out of contract because they could afford them. You won't blame them that much. But others, they are prepared to recruit direct players that will fit in their philosophy according to the style of play that will want to be implemented by the coach. But as much as we know also, with even the team now, they've got a style of play that is identified by the management structures. That's why you'll never find a coach coming and said, everybody will want umshishe team yakhe. If you can ask the coach, if you play umshishi, or I want to Maswanganyo, I want to Masego, I want to Mutau, but can you afford him? No. Okay. In the absence of those players, then who do we go to? You find that a team now buys you another right back. It's not the same level as Mutau, or it's not the same level in middle field like Umshishi, but that's what they could afford. You have to make use of it. Your system has to accommodate that player. So that's why I get when it comes to PSL, it differs according to clubs really, because they are totally different species. In general, they just operate their team normally on the boot of their cars, like business, like it's part of shop that, and others they are just more professional, and so it will be different. And that's where now the loophole sometimes my agent comes in. The influence, because now they'll be there always with the way. That's why I need to.
So that's what happens. I just while Velile is off there, I like what he's saying, but then my thing was always, you can look at signings in two ways, the way I always understood it. At Man City, they hired Chiki Begistan so that they change how the club plays behind the scenes, and Pep doesn't have to step into that because there's somebody who's already doing that behind the scenes. And how their transfers usually work is that Pep comes to them and says, I need a left back. These are my options from top priority to last priority. And then the COO and Chiki, the technical director and COO, will sit down and go, okay, these are the people that we can get. At Liverpool, Klopp has a team of people where he says that, guys, I want this type of player, or as a team, we've sat down with Klopp, he's part of the transfer committee. We want a player that does this, 2, 3, and 4. Then the stats guys go out and they go, okay, here are 7 players. This one is number 1. He's going to be the most expensive. He maybe does 24 dribbles in a game. But there's a guy in Italy who's maybe number 5 on the list, who's going to be cheaper. But according to the attributes that you're speaking about, it's right there. We've got 20, we've got 18 4 dribbles a game. So it might not be the top guy, but the bottom guy, the 5th guy, still gives you similar output. And then we go and sign the players. So I wonder if in the PSL that happens, because for me it feels as though the PSL, they go, I need a right back. I would really love Mudau. Mudau is not going to leave Sundowns So then we just look and go, who's available, who's the right back, whether they do what we want to do or what the team looks to do. The other point I wanted to touch on with what Velile said, just to take his time a little bit, it goes back to what I was saying about the coaches. The reason why Stellenbosch is run so good, it's not just about Steve Barker. His assistant coach has been with him ever since Tux. I'm forgetting his name. They're currently doing CAF A together. The head of development, I'm forgetting his name too, Van. He has been with the coach ever since. So that club runs so well because those guys who are running it have been together for a long time. My issue is, should you want to get rid of Upaka? Say you want to get rid of Upaka. Does Stellenbosch itself have people in the back who have the culture of the club and can run it from that point, or go look for another Barker type coach? Or is it going to be up in the air again? Supersport is the exact same way. Gavin Hunt does everything. Now, when you remove Gavin Hunt, is Supersport able to stand on its own or replicate what Gavin Hunt was doing due to the culture of the club? This is why I'm saying that I feel as though in SA, the coaches are the most important person, and it shouldn't be that way. Agent, technical directors, are they hiding in the back? I've spoken before about people being hired, and these clubs have a lot of people who are hired in the background, but it seems as though, again, it comes down to the coach all the time, and maybe the coach may not be the best person to do the signings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're truthful in that. Excuse me. I think first things first, I wanted to give 3 examples, 2 are from Abu Chiefs, but that's fine. Who in his right state of mind says to whoever is making power, who has the power to make these decisions, that I'm gonna bring in a player from South America on a loan. That alone is a big red flag. You're like, loan from a different continent. Loan about Botswana, I can say I understand. I can understand, but from all the way from South America, it raises questions that the Chiefs management and team who are responsible for this, so it is a good idea, and I want to bring in the Black Panther. He comes in, he trials, and that is already a red flag. A big team such as Chiefs holding a trial, that's one red flag. It reminds me of a team which was it cheaper or who pushed it on social
cheaper,
media.
yeah, it was cheaper.
That's comical, and then the player fails the trials, and who in his right mind says, no man, come back and help us after you failed the trial, So I think it just shows impulsiveness, as opposed to methodology, and it's the question becomes, Sundowns is getting these players. It's not just from Chile, it's from different South American teams. We have had Aboya Enek Zagri, we have had many players, It's what is important is the scouting satellite or network, Give me any tournament anywhere which is FIFA recognized that Sundowns doesn't send a scout. Any tournament, FIFA World Cup, Chen, whatever, And on top of that, in each continent, they have like scouting networks. They've teamed up with local scout. I think I was trying to find the name of this guy who was explaining to how they do it at Sundowns. He's like, what we do is beginning of the year, or end of the year, sorry, they have a Zoom meeting, all the scouts, and it's like they have scouts in each kind of region, and in each region they outsource scouts locally, so they can find a player in a small village in Chile because they not necessarily have a scout in Chile, they have a scout in South America who has local scouts who are being outsourced, and it's that kind of methodology where it's easy for Glenn to say, I'm the striker, and they search across the continent and say, we have a striker, we have him, so this is what you can do, you know? And I think also it goes back to the structure, you know? Structure, firstly, in terms of how the football plays. I think I once shared a video by Ralf Ragnick, one of the best technical directors you'll ever find, you know? He says, at the big banner should be, how do you want to play? And then underneath it, that's when other things come in, the players and everything. But the big heading should be, how do you want to play? You know, hence Sundowns will never sign Psl, you know, because Psl doesn't fit in with how Sundowns want to play. You know, and the reason why Chiefs is having problems is they have a concoction of different players from different systems, and that's a problem. Because now you have given in, you are signing players for the coach, not for the team. You know, when the coach leaves, he leaves those players, and then another coach comes and is like, but Katsande's not my bread and butter. I need someone.
But he's still got a 4-year contract. Still got 3 years left.
Contract, you know, so that's the problem. That's why you have to first have a structure and see, as Chiefs, as Pirates, how do you wanna play, and then I can bring in other players from there, you know. And I like what Orlando was saying in the sense that it shows, and I think there's a question that you asked Kumo. Does it reduce the corruption or whatever it is there, you know, favoritism or whatever, you know? The team is saying, we have given you said you want a striker. We have 5 people. Choose from there, you know. So even if Orlando goes today, you know, still one of the 5 people I still want to come, and it doesn't matter who they are, because they're gonna fit the Sundowns way, you know. Hence, internationally, and they are always spot on the players that they bring in. Really, to find the Sundowns bringing in international players not spot on, you know. And I think also it goes to the importance of the technical director. I think in the past 3-2 seasons, Sundowns is not necessarily locally going for, I think it's a mixture of expensive players and cheap players, you know. People forget that we took Omodao from, was it a relegating or relegated Black Leopards? We took recently Unku, you know. So these are the players who are not necessarily high-end players, and excuse me, but they feed the system, you know. So it's not about money, it's about, can you buy a player who feeds the system? Now tell me, did Chiefs, Pirates, and other teams not see Modao that this can be the next best right back, you know? And from that, from getting in a player, it's not enough to get in a player who feeds the system. It's, can you get in a player and polish him and make him better, you know? Look at all the players that go to Sundowns, they improve, you know? And you go to other teams, you take a star player and he digresses. That's the problem, you know. So the player should be important, and the coaching should also be important, you know. And look at what Uglan was saying with Rubiero, that we saw him, it's like, no, we don't need you there, but you need you here, and you need to do this to improve. How many teams are doing that in PSL? So I think that's the problem, that it's a concoction of getting the right players and getting in excuse me, getting in the right coaching. I think Uspelele Nchangase was one of the best passers of the ball. I think he was going to fit in Chiefs, but what happened? Best player. I can go on the players that I think are good and are good enough for Chiefs, but when they go there, it becomes a bit of a problem.
Okay. Super. Same question to you. These technical directors, man, shouldn't these things lie outside of the coach? Because I feel as though one of the problems of EPSL is that I'm a coach Yafika, and he says, I want to implement a style of play. I need you to buy 10 players. Team signs 10 players. Then the new coach is fired, and then all of a sudden, new coach comes in, he looks at the 10 players that were signed, and he says, Lava, I don't know what to do with them, you know, but those 10 players are on 3-year contracts. Instead of the signing being in collaboration with the coach, but more for the style of play of the team. And then you then get a coach that plays that style of play, and then you get players that play that style of play. Guti, Maseng Faru coach, I can bring in another coach who plays a similar thing, but we know what we're doing with these players. Do we make it too much of the coach's job?
I think I mentioned earlier that I have the most respect, and usually it's going to be coaches from outside. I have the most respect for a coach who can come into a club and say, I'm not going to make any signings. That's when you've got a real professional on your hands. It's a person who admits that they don't know the league, and a person who says, I will see what you have, and then I will make the team play to its strengths. And I think in the PSL, there's only been one coach like that, and that was Psl. Psl is the only person who transgressed being a coach with an identity to being a coach to bring an identity to any club. Right now, he's making all of these boring Arab clubs play the most beautiful, watchable football. And he's not making signings because he doesn't know the league. He studies the team he's going to work for, and then he studies the league when he's already arrived. So it is a lack of skill from our coaches, I must say, from some of our local coaches. It is a lack of structure from the clubs, and it's also a thing when I ended my last bit, it's club legends sitting in technical director positions. Friends of the chairman being the eyes and the ears of the chairman on the pitch, instead of having a person who's going to be there to implement a short, medium, and long-term plan for the club to say, you know what, whoever coach who comes in here, we just tell them this is how we play, and then they can put their own spin on it without changing the identity of the club. So in the country, I think there's only two teams that are basically like that. We know the two teams, who they are. The Shushan and Piano, and Pirates is a very organized team, and Pirates always plays fast-running football. So even though Pirates doesn't necessarily have a philosophy, Pirates does have a rigid structure, which doesn't change regardless of the coach, and that's why they give a consistency to say whatever happens in the season, Pirates is going to be in the top 3. So when you have a situation with the Steve Barker, when the ownership is not happy with what is happening on the log, they chase him out. There's a total collapse. It cannot be like as the panel said, mentioned earlier, there's two types of club owners. They actually mentioned the one type of club owner who is there to make money off players. There's the second club owner who has a lot of money to spare and doesn't actually understand the deep-rootedness of the football. He's just riding the coattail of being a club owner who is the Premiership. He just wants to replicate what he's seeing in Europe with Abu Abramovich and what. So we do have it's not actually a challenge, but it's a growth point of which Sundowns is leading the charge. You must give them credit. Sundowns is leading the charge to say, guys, now our league needs to evolve to the next level. I think hence why Rulani was speaking so freely in the interview to say, but this is information that we should be freely sharing in workshops as South African coaches, as South African technical directors. It shouldn't come as a surprise that I'm speaking about this. And that's what the problem is. We need to have professionals in their roles at all clubs.
Velile, did I ask you this question?
Yeah, ngibuzile mdaba kodwa ngithi ngisale ngakhathala kwahamba ugesi lana so eish. So to
Can I go on to the next one?
no sebayibekile nje abafowethu ngasho nje lami lokugcina nje ukuthi la eSouth Africa indaba yobu-technical director ayikaze yasebenza
Yeah.
ngoba vele ayikho ifakela nje ukuhlonipha uNelthovu sase-i-technical director kuSAFA namanje
I think Stenbok now.
sekayini
Manager or something. Manager, I think.
uyazibona so yiyo ngisho ukuthi ezinye ama-technical director la ekhaya ku-PSL cha ayisebenzi ayisebenzi because vele awakhethwa ngendlela ukuthi this person supposed to bring in a philosophy and a structure from good development if i-team inayi-develop until to the first team even though angeke abe kakhulu kangako ku-first team because the first team i-coach yiyo runner the show there in terms of the system that they play but at least that sort of like a structure, that conveyor belt ebekhona if you look at ku-Pirates kudala ku-development sasewuphala shows you look at the players that they were producing abovilakazi abomakhanya Mokwena Leremi they were sort of you could see these people they've got a similar structure of playing regardless of what they were doing one or two players because if you look at the Iraga part pitch they only bought Eden Bekdina at the back and then was immediately was Onyekachi Ogongo and then the other ones Zamixer that's why you even had system like Ojadisa whereby no Ojadisa no OTG South African players, but most I can even tell you within on those teams, 6 or 7 players were from Pirates development. So already they've got a structure, but not in sometimes not in a form of a technical director, but a form of like a development coaching. Because at that time, Pirates used to have under 12, 17, and 19, if I'm not wrong. So it's bigger than in terms of like organizing structure, and also it's good as place for scouting for first team coach to know good yes as much as I might not get players from Gubi but I do have players khona la ekhaya ihambe yahamba yafeyida kancane isikhathi basibhizihamba when ubaba uShabalala tend to be more involved kakhulu now in terms of running those things because before beyangasi kangako but manje no sekuye vele oranishonga that's why you find that at sometimes ama-agent ake ambhayisisana yamlethela umuntu obuye eNigeria bekadlala i-6 aside lapha eHillbrook u-Otoroko wamsayina naye angazi ukuthi yeyi lo muntu lona hayi basishayile la so i-agent yamnokha lapha so nakusho nakini kudala
basinokha
yabakhumbula abowasiwe ipaye laphayana abolikwane nani kodwa
abanye never even put on a Chiefs kit mara basayinile then they were moved on before
hey don't ungayikhulumi but yeah so far kona injalo yemdawo that's why ngithi it's different team on how they run their business but the technical director thing like I know they just put anyone nje ukuthi he's a technical director you look uFohloza naye kuba i-technical director most like so you see ayibona ukuthi uhlulekile lo muntu hayi no
and again the funny thing is they were going to keep him and he's the one who said yeah
uyayibona so ayisebenzi kangako vele siyazi bakuthiwa sowulapha isithi uzothola umsebenzi or indlela yakhe yokuphuma to wait la mawuthi u-technical director la ekhaya so injalo nje mntakababa
I'm gonna since let me go back to Kumo. Two things. Our coach is stubborn because I want to take you to the pitch now. You didn't get the players you wanted. You're not going to be able to play your style of play fully. But now you are trying to make somebody a left back and they're not a left back. You're trying to play somebody in a different way. Our coach is stubborn when it comes down to now on the pitch, and then your closing statements for tonight.
What do you mean they're stubborn? Are they stubborn in terms of like they do not want to take direction, or they're forced to make do with what they have?
I mean it in you. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's say the club didn't give you everything you wanted, but now you've got the squad, and now I find Chivavairo running on the wing, or I find Swallows, I'll use the Swallows example, playing out from the back. 8 times they've been caught out, but they carry on doing it. They're trying to retrofit players into a system that you want to play instead of going, "Hi guys, these are the players I have, let me make it work."
I wanna, as a coach, you're supposed to make do with what you have, ne? And having a stubborn coach, it's a good and a bad thing, because like we always accuse Hugo Bruce of being stubborn, like he doesn't want to take direction, and sometimes he does learn from his mistakes, ne? But also, you can also be stubborn in a good sense. Like, for instance, Peter Musimani, he knew what he wanted to implement there at Sundowns, and he didn't care to listen to the naysayers. So having him with a bit of arrogance, confidence, and stubbornness made him to prove to the world that he's a phenomenal coach. So also, like, having the scraps that you are dealt with also makes you become a legendary coach. You know, if you could put given Hunter's resources, if you could put who's struggling now, then Smale said, like, even though he's there in the NFD, but if he was still at okay, let's take this guy Oko Jwaning.
Yeah.
Look at what he's achieving so far. He's beating these so-called big teams. He's being stubborn. He went to Botswana because he was struggling here in South Africa. That's a form of stubbornness that you look for in a coach. Now he's proving his mental there. He's proving that he's a great coach. Just that he needs someone to believe in him, and he can now. If he leaves joining, he's gonna be hard property when he comes back to the PSL. So being stubborn, it can be good and also can be bad. Just feel like if you bring results, then no one is gonna care about your stubbornness.
Closing statements for today.
Closing statements for today, ne? No, like today we spoke about we spoke about so many topics, but like, man, I don't know how we can also, as the youth, because now you were saying, how can we get the next Trot Molotos to be the administrators for SAFA? Like, we need to know there's actually a way. These people need to open channels for us to participate, because we do have some ideas that we can implement there, and we can clearly do a better job, or because we can't be having the same old ancestors that are comfortable, that are too tight for their belts anymore. So we need to see changes, and us as people here, we need to implement those, and also we need to be stubborn by forcing those changes. That's my 2 cents for tonight. And again, thank you for the great show, man.
No stress, Kumo. Because that's where everybody takes each other on. Proper. Agent, our coach is stubborn, and what are your closing statements? And I mean stubborn in terms of, now you've got the players, they are here. You can't change them. The window is 5 months away. You might not even get players in the window, but you're still trying to make these guys play a football that they don't understand. Our coach is stubborn a little bit.
I think maybe the question is, our coach is stubborn, or is the book that they are reading stubborn? Well, I think is the latter. I think it's the book which is stubborn, And like you always put it, this thing of copying page 9 without reading what was happening before page 9 will get coaches fired, because you see Ulani or Pizzo converting Morena to a left back, to a full back instead of a winger. You see them converting Mukoti from midfield to defender. You see all those things, and you want to copy. Yes, it's good to copy, but are you copying it having read what they want to achieve, and you don't know what they saw in Kotiye to make him a defender from midfield? You make your own full analysis, and I think it's just the manual that says a player to be utility player. You have to try players in different positions, but is it working for you? And you have to do that, and for what you want to achieve, do you need utility players? Do you need players who can play two positions? Or you need specialists for a particular position, you know? So I think this is the stubbornness that I'm against there, where like we don't have to always apply the FIFA handbook, you know? Just it should be situation based, you know? And I think also in terms of play, you know, say what you may about Coach Jose. Coach Jose comes, not even Coach Jose, foreign coaches. First season they come in, they do a job, they go. You know, so what's holding the local play, the local what are they, managers or coaches, you know, from doing that? You must learn to know. I think this is what Orlando learned last season, that not every game needs tiki-taka, you know. So when our coach is gonna learn that, okay, fine, I'm in a Chiefs team as Kevin Johnson, I'm expected to play this certain way. And I think, let me go to Ten Hag. Ten Hag said something 2 weeks back. He said, I'm not here to make Manchester United play the Ajax way, you know? I'm here to make Manchester United play the Manchester United way, you know? Because he has speedy players. He doesn't have tiki-taka players, but he has speedy players. So I feel like is what coaches should do, you know? Look at the players and then implement a style. I'm sure in local football, there is no coaching or coaches who say, we are going to the school of Johan Cruyff, you know? There's no Johan Cruyff football here, you know? I'm sure you are taught all the tactics. Then it's up to you to pick and choose. So I'm sure coaches have to do that. And forget. And lastly, as my closing statement, I think oh, sorry, guys. My mind is off somewhere. My mind is elsewhere. My mind is elsewhere, guys. Elsewhere, guys. Hey, I think I should, but anyways, I should start a GoFundMe, eh? But what else I saying? I think teams shouldn't be greedy, you know? We saw what Greg did to Jomo Cosmos. This thing of having being a coach, being a technical director, being a what, it won't work in the long run, you know? We saw with Jomo that this won't work, you know? And sometimes you find a job which has been done by 10 people at Sundowns, it's been done by 2 people somewhere, you know? And you expect those people to play in the same playing field or do the same job, you know? And I think we are not yet at a level in a country where we are producing managers instead of coaches. I think we're still in a level where we're producing coaches, you know? I think the only manager that we've produced is a Kevin Hunt, you know? Peter is a coach, not a manager, you know? He wants things to be done for him, and then he just focuses just on the pitch, you know? So I think that's what we have to do. We have to, if you're asking them to be coaches, let's not make them managers. Let's provide the right platform, the right people around them, so that their only job is to focus on the field. And then we can judge them from that. So, yeah.
Okay. Hey, Super, I know I'm throwing you in here, but our coach is stubborn. And what are your closing statements for tonight?
I don't think our coaches are stubborn. I think we've just got a lot of people doing the wrong job. We've got a lot of people being thrust in the deep end because there's a skills gap.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot, not even just in South Africa. That's why on the continent you have a lot of European coaches on the continent.
Yes.
And a lot of them quality coaches, but a lot of them are plumbers. But there are plumbers that are at a much higher level than our local coaches, so we wouldn't even in terms of using players in different positions, I think maybe we're blowing it out of proportion. Players have always changed positions. I mean, a player like Mark Fish started out as a striker. It's very common to find players that move back from midfield into the defense or move from right back into center back. I don't think there's anything wrong with equipping a player with a skill set earlier in his career, which is something that the Dutch have consistently done, and it has consistently worked. Why they will never lack for young talent, because every talent at Ajax, for example, has 4 coaches at every level. Which you go through, you've got 4 coaches, 4 different people on you, as opposed to 1 coach at each level, and maybe coming across 1 or 2 decent coaches before you are actually spotted on your road. So I don't think it's coaches being stubborn. It's also coaches trying to be versatile, because the club owners don't have the kind of budgets that the coaches are looking for. So what do you do then in an environment where the game is so much more competitive? It's not like when Shakes Kungwane were playing, where players are training twice a week and the injuries are not so severe. And you've got your players. Baseka Marco is currently out for most of the remainder of the season, 6 months, I think. You understand? So if you are not prepared to lose both of your starting left backs, what are you going to do when it happens? Are you going to say, oh, bad luck? And no, I don't think a coach or a manager can blame bad luck. It's a lack of preparation. So I don't.
But should you be preparing at the expense of the results? I think that's what I'm trying to say, that I don't mind experimentation, but if experimentation, you're doing it at the detriment of the results, where this thing is not working. We're watching you do it and it's not working, and now the team is losing points or whatever. Shouldn't at some point it click and say, guys, I know what I want to do, but I also need to understand that now I must earn the time. These clubs are not going to keep me if the results are not coming. So I may have to do something I don't like for this year, so I may earn the next 2, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. It depends on the club targets. If the club is to be in the top 8 and you are firmly in the top 8, then you can start preparing for next season. I mean, we have a crazy league. We have a crazy league where the team is the team that faces Sundowns in the Nedbank Cup final, and then they are in Africa. So you can't not consider what can happen in the future. If you're chasing the league, if you're in a serious chase for the league or a CAF spot, you cannot be doing those things. If you are secure in your top 8 position or your middle table position, and you are happy with your targets having been met, then you can allow the coach to do that. Also, in relegation, unfortunately now the preseason is not like what it was before. Preseason is very short. Clubs don't really get a lot of time to prepare for the new season. Sometimes you make those adjustments in the first third or so of the season. It is, there's a lot. For example, I'll use Orlando Pirates. What happened with Vincent Pule and Kabelo Dlamini last season? That was a huge disruption for the club. And it could have possibly been the reason why they didn't win the league. Not because Sundowns was better, but there was something happening in the background. So, having gone through that last season, it would be prudent for the club to be better prepared. Should the players also go through another personal tragedy, that they can have another player who can slot in and things can go on smoothly. So I just think it depends on what are your targets and how close are you to achieving them.
Okay. No, I hear you. Velile, our coach is stubborn, and your closing statements for today.
It depends on which way are they stubborn. Are they stubborn when they are facing a situation whereby they have to try and implement new tactics in playing a different player to a different position, or whether are they forced to play that players there? Because we remember we had that same situation with our coach last year, whereby he played Umarko on the right hand side for 3 to 4 consecutive games without any results. And coaching in South Africa, if he was at Chippa United with those 4 games, he will be gone. So there is no room for stubbornness there if something is not working.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways. Either we are forced to do that or you are trying to implement a new strategy. But also, if you are trying to implement a new strategy, you still need also to identify the qualities of that player that you are going to put it in that position. For example, if you are going to change a central player into a wing, that player, for once you take that to a wing, you must know if he must have a pace. He must be able, sometimes if he's not a right-footed player, he must be able to cut inside and shoot with his left-hand foot. But if he cannot do that, you are just being stubborn for experimenting something just because you're a coach. You want to see if it will work or not. It won't, because there's certain identification that you need to see first before you could even do that. But if you're in a situation whereby it's an injury, in that way we cannot debate so much. It just as Ubuntu Super Chilo, it gives an opportunity for you to prepare more better for the coming up season, because already we have faced that situation and it created a problem for you as much as it's creating a problem with our 2 left backs.
Right backs.
2 left back injured,
left backs.
the right 2 left back no Mail. That's why we know
Isn't Shandu
also
also?
now Shandu Monyana na ulimele. So which means you will need to buy another right back in January. So you see, that's why that on that one it gives you an opportunity to see, no, I face this challenge, but how do I counter that? And also it must shows you the players that you have and their strongest ability. You've got our right back, Monyane no Shandu. They are not strong when it comes to defensively. So it shows you I've got these 2 reliable right back, but the day I will find a team that will identify that, these guys know they're good when I'm moving forward, but defensive they're a problem. And that's where you will need a proper right back who is a man marker, who is a good defensively. Of which they did try. I heard he's a good defender in terms that one's a proper right back as compared to Bonner, but they're more like right wings because they're even moving forward, they're so good in doing that. So that's why stubbornness, you need to separate it in which way. Because
But shouldn't our team wait to? I think what I'm trying to get to here is it sometimes feels like our coach Betu are so comfortable in their jobs and so comfortable Guti I'm not asking him for the league. I'm not asking him for top 3. I'm not asking him for top 5. Soki topic. I remember Coach Kanu, when we asked him about Golden Arrows, what was their mandate? He was like, no, the team allowed us to come up with our mandate. And it's like, shouldn't our coaches, and I think that attitude feeds into anything as long as number 7. Whatever I want to do, stubborn, I can complain about players, I can make it about all that stuff instead of getting results. Isn't that one of the factors?
It goes back to the issue that once you once raised about the personal ambitions your coach. Of which you were able to identify because they're just starting now, and of which we know
and they pushed Chem, the 2 of them. They pushed.
Bapushile. Because if you look at the Arrows, their system of doing things, they don't buy players. They do trials, and they identify those type of players. They groom them and then they sell them. That's their business model. So I'm a coach. That's why they even back about relegate even after the Babu or Sean Bartlett. Because if that's your business model, you are in one of the day you are going to be relegated. Uzo relegated. Uchomo relegated because that was also his business model. So you must be prepared to face those consequences. But when I'm saying to the issue, personal ambition, your coach, this season, like you have identified a coach like Steve Park, who has been coaching Psl for how many years? From Goma Tax, Namai Gusen Bosch, I don't know how many years. Uzosho ukuthi akuveli nakancane kuyathi this year I'm going for this cup or I'm going for the league. I've been a coach for so many years and this is what I this is what I want to achieve me namanje. Yes, I've got this type of players, but this year, if it's talent push, this year take no, this year target for me and this team is to win the league and stamp your authority. Then it's a good stubbornness, that one. Yeah. But if we go to my team, you know, you will be fired. Yes, you can, but uzohamba. So you know, it works in both ways. Yeah.
Okay. No.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Velile.
Yeah, and
Yes.
also closing statement.
Yeah.
We see abafowethu bakhona la on the panel my members were overthinking football. If there are people who are involved, as the CBS Kuluma on the side, Lano no Brakumo, if people who are involved or who got knowledge, I'm a local football association whereby probably maybe they could help even if my trial, whether for under 14, 17 young kids, if they could just shout it out also bafake and said they're gonna my trial at it was some of us we know kids around like Emalokshin la. Maybe if yakhona kana sinawo amandla sibhadale lo taxi onini eyayo lapho just for trials and sizame inhlanhla, even though thina abanye we've been to trials, we know kwenzakalani lapho kunzima, but that's why singana ama-player we know lapha kuma-trials kwenzakalani yabona. But go to just that shout out nje mangabe kukhona ukwazi whether is in Pretoria or where Midrand or Sethembisa or Soweto, just shout out sibone, if just asazi mhlambe who knows, maybe we can one of the good days asingasho ukuthi akuthi yabazi base baqhome identify mina lo yimi ngam-identifier kanti cha umkhaphe nje nge-transport wanceda.
Yeah.
Yabona. Yeah,
No stress. I'm always open. Like Kumbula, tournament Namtambo, they reached out they reached out. I'm open. I'm always open.
No. Yeah, sengisho kubafowethu abanye ukuthi bayazi ukuthi kwenzakalani somewhere, yabona, bangathuli nalolu lwazi lo, silahlele sibone nje ukuthi kungancedakala kuphi.
No stress. I'm always open.
Yeah, mhlamba ke sikhona ukuyale kubo Bhutulo Khunjana le eMlazi. Ubhutuba lo we-Sundowns le uxolani le Mlazi kude kakhulu ke sikhona ukufika kodwa naye
sekazabona le Eastern Cape ngale.
Yeah, bazabona bahlanganisa ngale mdansana nalapha eMlazi nje babona bakhulume nje.
No, phela imali yafika yona, ngithi yafika imali. Ayina taxi egibelayo.
Yeah, wena sizame yesiphushe kulelo side lelo bafowethu.
Okay, no, thank you so much.
Okay,
look, my closing statements are very simple about these type of things. I think the fact that our teams are run this way should be a worrying factor. I think the fact that we don't know who the technical director at Kaizer Chiefs is, for example, should be a worrying factor. The fact that we don't know about the hundreds, I think, of other people that work in these different teams. And we don't ask them questions. Similar to the conversation we had about Safa just now. There's so many people who work there that we don't know, that now it becomes a problem because I only look at the coach. Maybe a certain team is doing badly or good or whatever because there's someone, Manoshe is in the back, who's doing the work or who isn't doing the work alternatively. I think we have a bad culture in South Africa of expecting Abo Coach Bear to do everything. Coach Wateng, Tonza Fike, you must be the coach, you must be the scouter, you must be the signer, you must be the person who speaks in the back. I remember Roger Tisa, at some point you were CEO while being coach. We do these things where we give these coaches so much power and we wonder when it doesn't work. Guys, you don't start with the coach to give you a style of play. You don't start there, or you're not meant to start there. As a club, you're meant to go, guys, we really want to play like this. I want to play like Barcelona. How then do we make sure that everything behind closed doors is working towards us becoming that, so that when we go look for a coach, it's easier. When we go look for players, it's easier because we know exactly what we're looking for. But we have a culture in South Africa where coach dictates. Coach is hired, he signs 9 players. Coach is fired. Another coach comes in, he wants to play a completely different way, but now he's got 9 players who are on contract. Instead of the club going, it's our... I love what Rulani said in that video that I played in the beginning. Well, Rulani was like, guys, I get a report from the club that says these are the things we can do to be better. Not just transfer and personnel. He gets a report. He probably has input on, I would love a player that does this and this. And then those guys in the back go, does these players fit with the long-term goals of the Sundowns? Do these players do this? Okay, Rulani, here are 5 names. Then Rulani has homework to go and look at these guys, study them, and then pick the best one, and then present to say, I want this one because of 1, 2, 3. Then the technical stuff again goes back. You get what I mean? It's outside of him. He has to worry about the coaching. The fact that Sundowns plays the same football, Rulani plays the same football, Pracheri with the ladies, plays the same football, DDC. And none of these coaches cross-coach. It's because there is a vision, a plan, a style of play that comes from somewhere external to the coaches that dictates what everybody does. But we're going to carry on firing coaches and getting rid of coaches if every time I, as a club, am moving, the coach changes every single thing. Can you imagine that? Think about that. Can you imagine living in a house where every couple of years somebody comes in and redecorates the whole thing? You don't know where to find your spoons tomorrow. That person has left. Now we start from scratch. It makes no sense. So our clubs need to get better. In terms of the stubbornness of coaches, like it or not, these are your players. You can complain, you can talk about Sundowns, you can want to do this, but these are your players. And I think our coaches are so comfortable in their jobs and knowing that they don't need to go fetch something and go do something big. They're so comfortable that they're willing to sit back and you watch them make the same mistakes 7 weeks in a row, 8 weeks in a row, 13 games into a season. People are still telling you that, oh, we're trying to find ourselves and we're trying to teach ourselves how to do whatever. 13 games in, of a 30-game season, already they don't know what to do at that point. That makes no sense. And that, for me, comes from not having pressure. Comes from not having pressure. What pressure does Steve Barker have at Stellenbosch? I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but I'm asking you, what pressure does Steve Barker have at Stellenbosch? When one, he knows that the goal is not for him to go and win the league, as far as I understand, but number 2, I run this club. When the board has to sit down and decide whether to fire me, I run it. Oh, you're going to get rid of me, and you're going to get rid of Wes, and you're going to get rid of Van. Good luck, because I control all of this. You're starting from scratch. Now he can't get fired. Oh, now what's driving him to go win the league? When you watch the coaches on TV, we watched the press conferences of Steve Kompela and Kevin Johnson. Steve Kompela came out and said, oh, we did this thing where we're playing out from the back and we tweaked it slightly and they caught us out. They caught you out 8 times and you did nothing about it. Then Kevin Johnson comes out and says, kudos to Coach Steve Kompela for sticking with this thing. And you're like, oh, but why are you sticking with this thing if results are paramount? Clearly results are not paramount, so why are you here? There's so many things, man, that we can look at and so many different ways to attack these type of things. But for me, it becomes, I want a sense of urgency. I want a sense of urgency from players. Things are going wrong. I'm going to jara this team on my back, and I'm going to take it on today and get us the result. I want it from the coaches. Yes, I have this grand scheme of playing like Barcelona, but if I want to earn my next 2 years at this club, I need to win. So that means looking at my club and saying, these are the players I have. I'm gonna orientate my style of play, my tactics towards these group of players so that we can win. Sizayibona phambili indaba yokuthi we need to go play a certain way. Urgency. I want to see an urgency from the club where they go, we can't keep hiring and firing coaches. Nje. Let's bring in technical directors. Let's do the hard work so that we can set up our clubs for the next 5 years. Most of the clubs in the PSL, what are their 5-year plans? Can you see it? From the last 5 years, have you seen an improvement? Have you seen a change? Have you seen where? But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Wonderful conversation as usual. If you're late, they are available on Facebook and YouTube in full, as well as other incredible conversations that we have had on this platform. If you have not followed, please follow. Do me the favor of following this TikTok page, following the Facebook page, following the YouTube page. We are live on all three. We do have a WhatsApp group. That's where most of the conversations start, and most of the conversations get had in much more detail. Sometimes for hours we go back and forth with the people that are in here, the wonderful panel members, Abo Veli, Labo Agent, all those guys. We have really dope conversations that don't have time constraints, and those come from WhatsApp. So to join the WhatsApp group, the YouTube channel, Overthinking Football Show, subscribe, but then click join for just 20 Rand. 20 Rand a month. You'll be able to get access to that WhatsApp group, and also member-only discussions as well, and offline discussions with me too. It really does help, and also you'll be contributing towards the show. I really do need it, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Keeping all of this up and doing this at this level is tough. So I need your contribution and your support. And I know you might think 20 Rand is not a lot, but when it all comes together, it really does help keep everything up. Just 20 Rand a month. I'm not asking for huge donations and things like that. I really do need it. Pay my rent, keep the internet up, do the research, do the videos, all of that stuff at this level. I need your help on that. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you guys then tomorrow at 12:30.